Make sure this recording is started. And so we have DeepFinnesse picking our first faction. DeepFinnesse has chosen Prospectors. Let's take a look at the board real quick. We have Digs round 1 into Town round 2, both Earth rewards, into Temples round 4, or excuse me, Temples round 3. And then Dwellings, TP Dwellings to round us out. So it seems like it'll be a high-scoring track late with lots of Earth rewards. Kind of incentivizes that Prospectors pick from DeepFinnesse. Our past tiles, we got Worker Power, Temp Ship, Cult Coin, 6 coins. So we're missing... what are we missing? We're missing Big Building. We're missing the players right now are talking about what the legal factions are for choice. So we're missing Big Building, Ship Scoring, and for some reason, my brain cannot register. Oh, the Spade. Obviously, the Spade. Okay. So, Selkies as a red faction was picked in the second seat by Redrame. Nondis picked Darklings in seat 3. And so we're just waiting for our choice in the last seat by MattTheLesser to get the auction started. If anyone has any questions or concerns, post in chat. If you can't hear me, let me know. This is my first time ever streaming, so hopefully this all goes well. I have a second scene that I have set up for once the gameplay starts, but we're gonna stick on this basic screen once we get through with get started with the auction. It works great. Okay, thanks, Eric. And if anyone wants to hop on to CoCast, let me know. I can hop into a Discord call and we can chat about the game together. It seems like the players are still chatting about faction selection. I do like the fact that we're still talking about what some of the factions do. Oh, apparently Selkies aren't in the Fire Ice rules? That doesn't sound right. See if I can link that to them. Oh, we have our factions. So we have Prospectors in the first seat, Selkies on red in the second seat, Darklings in our third seat, and Djinni in the fourth seat. Okay, it seems like players are starting out by bidding on Darklings pretty aggressively. That makes a good amount of sense, right? Darklings here with the 2 Earth rewards early and Darklings just being a powerful faction on their own. Especially when our rewards are, double Earth into Priest to Cult into a water reward. Makes a lot of sense for Darklings to be bid on early. See where the bidding goes to next. Okay, so Ondis is the first to jump, heading over to Selkies. And then Matt is the second to jump, heading over to Prospectors. Prospectors makes a good amount of sense here. The early cult rewards are really strong. E5 and D7. Still talking about exactly how Selkies work. And so now the bidding on Selkies is going up, still going down on Darklings. It seems like Djinni's probably the 40 here. My guess would have been that Selkies was the 40, but I think just wanting to try out the new faction makes sense. I do like Djinni here. I'm a big fan of Djinni, and with only 3 different cults for cult rewards, it seems pretty easy to spam Earth early and then move to water and then move to air and then still have that third move. Oh, there is a full sandwich. I hadn't noticed that. Thank you for pointing that out, Eirik. Yeah, we do have a sandwich on Djinni. Oh, and yeah, it is a full sandwich where Prospectors are sandwiched as well. Oh, that makes this even more interesting. Yeah, this makes me a little bit more surprised that Djinni didn't get love early as being the other faction on the outside of the sandwich, alongside Darklings. I'd imagine getting to play on the outside of the sandwich and take advantage of that would be nice, but maybe I have the factors. Oh, it's Selkies that are on the outside of the sandwich. That's right. Not Djinni. Okay, it makes way more sense why Djinni is being left at the end, with Darklings and Selkies getting most of the votes, or most of the bids early, I should say. Okay. I guess we can start talking about starting placements a little bit. It's Lake, so there's usually a good amount of action over here in the B4, B5, C3, D4, D5 area. I expect, a little bit of a leech party kind of forming over here. And then maybe over in like G4, G5, G6, F6, a sort of a secondary leech party. Yeah, thanks, Eirik. Yeah, I realized that after a moment. Yeah, Selkies being on the outside makes them far more interesting than Djinni. Yeah, so probably a leech party over here. Kind of interesting to figure out where Selkies want to put their 2 dwellings, because I think we're probably going to have something like B4, C3, D4, D5 as some initial placements for everybody, just to have a nice little leech party over here. But then where Selkies want to put their second dwelling, E3 is a pretty typical second starting place for dwellings, and it kind of makes sense in here. Yeah, there are some good gray-red areas, and I think trying to focus on the gray areas makes sense. So maybe something like G2, especially if you don't think Djinni is just going to be on F4. E5 I think is somewhere where they want to go later. Yeah, tall seems difficult. This to me looks like a track where you're gonna build up and then build out, rather than just keep building up. Having dwelling scoring in 4 and on 5, I think makes playing tall a little bit more difficult, and trying to prioritize starting places where you can expand seems like where we want to be. Where are we at? I'm kind of surprised that Prospectors has been bid down as far as they have. I guess the nice thing about Prospectors is they have incredibly easy access to digs by just getting lots of coins, and this is not a coin light game, right? We have all three of the 4 coin tiles. The only one we're missing is the spade, which I don't think Prospectors is upset that the spade isn't here. And so maybe just trying to lean in heavy, especially with these rewards here, right? If they think they can get like the round 1 priest and can priest to earth with the first action of the game, I don't know. I imagine that priest isn't going to get all the way to Prospectors, and they're probably going to end up starting on something like Cult Coins. Where the priest is probably going to end up in the hands of, my guess would be Djinni, but maybe the priest goes to Darklings. It's probably something like priest and worker power, and then maybe tempship are the first 3, leaving Cult Coins. But I don't know, maybe someone has plans to start out tall in the first round, wants to build their stronghold early, and maybe they would take the coins for that reason. Doesn't seem likely. Especially if Prospectors wants to build their stronghold early. But I don't think there's much of an incentive to do that. Yeah, Prospectors being bid all the way down to pretty much where Darklings is kind of surprising, in my opinion. Right, I think Djinni is the clear 40 here. So them being bid down as far as they have isn't shocking. Or them not being touched isn't shocking. But I feel like Darklings, in my opinion, is the faction I would want to be on, right? On the outside of the sandwich. Just a naturally powerful faction. Easy expansion, or incentives to expand late after building up initial resources through the first couple rounds. The plan on Darklings is probably something along the lines of Temple Dwelling round 1, SA round 2, second Temple round 3, and then hit expansion hard in the later rounds. Yeah, whoever's taking Djinni has to be very creative, because it almost feels like Djinni needs to play a tall game, but this track does not incentivize a tall game at all. I wonder if it's something like take the priest and then try and build your stronghold in like round 2. Matt I think Selkies for 33 is probably a really good deal here. Yeah, that's probably where my money would be if Selkies is still only on 33 points. Yeah, Is there something that I'm missing about Prospectors and why they're being bid down almost as much as Darklings? Like, I think Prospectors are probably good in this setup, but I don't like in the middle of the sandwich, right? They're gonna have to dig some really expensive hexes. And other than the fact that there's the double Earth rewards early, which is really nice for Prospectors, I'm just not seeing how they're 8 points better than Selkies or 20 points better than Djinn. Yeah, with how short the river hexes are and getting to do all those little jumps. I've only ever played Selkies once, but it was on lakes, and it seemed pretty easy, or easier than other factions to try and kind of get that big network, right? Getting those little tiles and being able to do things like this E5 hex being able to jump to D7 or E6, right, and get both of these little river hexes. Yeah, that's fair, Iric. Getting to place their second dwelling last is huge game with how sandwiched these factions are. Uh, and they are just rawly powerful. I'm not surprised that they're being bid on heavily. It's more how heavily they're being bid on surprised me a little bit. But I'll also note, my rating on BGA right now is currently the highest it's ever been at 438, and every player at this table has an elo of 590 or better. So I'm gonna defer to their opinions over mine. Okay, so now it seems like the biddings really moved to Selkies, kind of pushing those down. Darklings on 19. Yeah, they're probably at least a 20-point favorite over Djinni. And the path for Djinni seems rough this game. They have to. They basically have to be winning like at least 2, if not 3 Colts, I think, to have a shot. Like basically get maybe third on Earth and then win the other 3. Because all the action early is going to be on Earth, so they'll probably end up with a bunch of points on Earth and then maybe move somewhere else. Okay, so we got the Selkies down to 24. This makes more sense to me, right? Selkies being a little bit closer to Prospectors. I wonder who's gonna make the leap and actually try and play this Djinni game. Everyone here seems to be trying to avoid the Djinni like the plague. I will be right back. My cat is asking to be let back inside. Does Matt take responsibility for his pick here? It would be polite of him, but I don't know. He certainly created one of the more interesting matchups we could have seen by choosing a yellow faction here. We got Darklings down to 17, Selkies on 23, Prospectors on 21. All right, we got our factions. Ondis decides he's willing to bite the bullet. Okay, let's see. So, just this a little bit. My scenes seem to be slightly messed up. Let me adjust these real quick just to make sure we got this set up the way it should look with just these boards. Okay. So, B5 for Prospectors, that makes sense as an initial placement. Okay. Set up. Okay. Cool, got everything here. Double dig, yeah. Whoever gets to set up for double dig, I think, is going to have a decent spot. Selkies on C3, that makes a world of sense. Darklings on B4. Yeah, this is sort of the start of that leech party, right? And then D7. Okay. D7. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Thinking Selkies will eventually get to E5. Yeah, Matt's even starting on E5, right? And is going to want to dig E6, and so that'll get a neighbor for Djinni, and then we got B5, D5, E3 for as the other Darkling spot. Okay, yeah, this all makes sense. And then where we got so Djinni are starting on the priest. Ooh. Let me adjust the size of some of these real quick. I was trying to get all of the tiles and stuff on the board. I was messing around with looking at one of my turn-based games to try and get these scenes set up, and I guess they're slightly off kilter from where I wanted them. Okay, so we got our tiles there, and then this one I wanted to I don't know why this one won't let me. Whatever, we'll just delete that. That's fine. Okay. Cool. So Djinni start fire. Interesting. I guess they want to start fire because they know there's going to be essentially no competition for any of the spots on fire. Wow! DeepFinnesse first action C4. That is a big blow to Selkies, right? It's going to be way harder for them to connect now, having to kind of loop all the way through the east. Man, that is a wild first action. But I guess like that's the power of Prospectors, right? Like very few other factions can just triple dig first action. Yeah, cutting off Selkie connection, and also being able to actually score on the round 2 town event, right? It's likely that Prospectors is the only faction that's going to get to score that round 2 town event, and I think that's going to be a huge bonus. Yeah, take 2 key, really set them up well there. Right, and so we had... Okay, so Djinni took the second priest. Yeah, so I have to imagine they're going to throw 2 priests to fire and then swap their fire and their earth tracks. I really like this plan from Ondis to start on fire and throw a bunch of priests to fire early. Okay, so we got the double dig coming from... Oh, was that DeepFinnesse just double digged for both priests? Wow, that's huge because that means that there's so many fewer spades for everybody else. Which in a round 1 spade round is crazy, and it gives DeepFinnesse the priest to start rocketing it up the earth track. I wonder if red is supposed to priest to earth here, right? Because it's 3 coins and a spade. No, just taking the workers. Okay. Yeah, this prospector opening is absurd, right? Especially if red is actually taking the. Okay, they reconsidering. Yeah. I think Redrame needed to priest to earth here. Letting prospectors, get the 3 spot on earth and a 2 spot on earth with those 2 priests, I think is just a little bit too hard to come back from. But I mean, what else is DeepFinnesse doing, right? It's going to be 2 priests to Colts and then a TP, right? Definitely want to get the first TP up in round 1 as Prospectors. It's just so many coins. The Stronghold start from Matt makes a ton of sense here because that Selkie Stronghold power is really good. That, +1 chip and a spade, right, is going to help, sail over to A5, get over to E6. And that'll let him start building on some of these river hexes to start setting up these. It honestly, I think A5 makes more sense here if he wants to try in town in round 2. Right, angle for the double dig on A4 and then build dwelling on this river hex. Because Matt definitely has the power if he wants to if he passes relatively early to ensure double dig round 2. Definitely wants to build at least one dwelling here, though, using his stronghold action. We got all the towns on here. Yeah, okay, so he did go A5. This to me says that Matt is going to try and also town in round 2. And maybe he's just got to play a tall game, or, I mean, I guess instead of going to E6, he could go F5, ship over to F4, G2, and then try and circle around this way for connection, right? There's no one in the south to try and cut him off. So rather than going over to where Djinnis are over this D7, E6 area, could be moving sort of this way. So single dig, okay. If Darklings doesn't get any leech here, are they going to just like sacrifice 3 power for a worker to get a stronghold up? Or not a stronghold, a temple up this round? Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they have to, right? His start was so strong that like I think he's like clearly in the best position right now. And so just like trying to deny him resources seems good. Oh, okay, so Matt took the workers. Yeah, okay, and we are getting the temple out of Darklings for Earth 2. That makes sense, right, with the coin rewards this round. Getting the extra worker. Kind of setting himself up to Sanctuary turn 2, which is a really good start for Darklings. The one downside with Sanctuary on B4 though is he's gonna lose the race to A7, right? So this is almost gonna be like an abandoned Sanctuary. Honest with the Priest of Water, yeah. I think Djinni here has to like be winning some cults to have any sort of shot here. And so taking multiple 3 spots makes sense. And then is this where... Does Matt just pass here? Right, he's already set up for the double dig in terms of power. Oh, we can use the workers to build right now on the water spot. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so then Darklings are probably going to be first to pass here. Passing on... What, probably... Yeah, dwelling scoring makes sense. Yeah, and DeepFinnesse started on the Colt step, so he's going to get up to 8 on Earth in round 1 to get his 8 coins, and then... Oh, and he got the coin action. I didn't even see he got the coin action. Okay. Yeah, this Prospector start is crazy. Matt should still be set up to double dig first action, though, on A4 to get his town. Probably wants to pass on to 6 coins is my guess. But what is the A3? They should be able to reach A3 with their stronghold action, yeah. But is A3... I'm trying to figure out what the incentive of A3 is versus double dig A4 for the town. D3 without touching the green hex. Yes, okay, that, yeah. Oh, yeah. So they could probably double dig A4 and then use the stronghold power for A3. And that means they don't even have to, like, TP on A5, and that gets them the town. Why is that not possible? Couldn't they use double dig on A4 and then use the stronghold power on A3? Why would he not be allowed to place a dwelling with those two different actions? I'm saying first action, take the double spade on A4. Second action, use stronghold power to build on A3. Right, and then that would give him the 7 points. Yeah, and Matt does get the coins here. And is set up to take double dig. Djinni Temple for Earth 2 makes sense. Yeah, dig A7 makes sense. Hey, what's up, Kodam? We got a spicy one so far. We have Prospectors triple digging C4 first action of the whole game to cut off Selkies. Easy connection path through that hex. And setting themselves up to town in round 2. Yeah, it was... Well, so not only did DeepFinnesse triple dig C4 first action, but then second action got the double dig for 2 priests to get him set up all the way up to the 8 spot on Earth Cult. Where we have, double Earth rewards in the first two rounds, and set himself up to town in round 2. But the thing is that if Matt wants to, Matt has the tempo to town first. So Matt could beat Prospectors to the 2 key. Yeah, because there's no way that Prospectors can build a TP here to take the tempo back. That's fair, yeah. Shiptown makes it pretty easy for them to get to D3. D3, F3, G2, and try and actually get connection that way. Yeah, I can see that. Shiptown makes a lot of sense here for Selkies. F4 is hugely important. Right, having to go through G3 is way harder. Though I don't know. I think F4 is probably one of the more contested hexes coming up, right? Because I think Darklings might want it if they had any semblance of a town. I don't see where Darklings are towning, right? Because they probably want to build their SA this turn. C2 instead of A4. Okay, that's actually way better than A4, which is what I was thinking. Right, so with C2, yeah, now they can Selkie power to build D3. Right, they can upgrade A5 or C2 to town. Yeah, getting the coins and the double dig was incredible for prospectors. Who took the coins this round? Was Djinni. Yeah, Djinni got the coins this round. Or no, it was Darklings. Darklings took the coins this round. Djinni took the priest. Okay. Oh my God! DeepFinnesse steals F4, making it hard for both Selkies and Darklings to do. Darklings' position seems so rough, right? Like they getting beat to A7, right? Prospectors starting on B5. They can be, because they're very flexible and they have some cheap digs. I think here they were bid down more because they were on the outside of the sandwich, being a red faction in our super sandwich. I think was a big part of it here. And yeah, Selkies on Lakes are. I think Lakes is probably the best map for Selkies. Their power just makes it really easy to jump around and build those dwellings on the river hexes in really powerful ways. Like, Matt's going to get to town here off of a really odd collection of hexes because he could build on that river. Yeah, their dig upgrades are cheaper, and then, okay, so Matt is going to be the first to town here. Yeah, Selkies don't need digs as much because their stronghold power gives them a dig, and because they can build on the river hexes, they need less digs. Yes and no, right? Because a lot of your early expanding, you're digging other color hexes anyways, right? It's not like a lot of your early expanding is taking your own natural hexes. So really, the downside is more in the mid to late game, where you can't just like ship to your own natural color hexes and having to dig those. Okay, Worker Town for Matt. Interesting. Interesting. So he still has his Selkie power, right? So he's probably going D3 with that to try and set up getting over to F3 and G2. Yeah, I'm surprised at Workers as well. I didn't think he was, trying to position himself for 2-key. I don't think playing Culty is like what Selkie wants to do here. Interesting, Eirik. Why are you saying the ship town doesn't make sense? I think it made more sense in the first world we were building, or the world I was building where he was digging A4. I think it makes less sense now that he's on C2 instead. It does, but like, how much does he really need to extend his stronghold ability, right? Because like, he can stronghold ability to D3 already, and then once he's on D3, he can get to F3, right? E6 or F6 or G6. I think I'm with Eirik on this one. 2-key is never horrible, but it isn't always the best, right? These are a little off. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Well, I mean, they're gonna temple next round, right? Because we got temple reward or temple scoring on round 3. Um, but I don't think Selkies necessarily wants to play Colty here. I think everyone else, like Prospectors is obviously playing the Earth Cult very hard, and I think Djinni's only lane is to play Colty. So I think like Selkies had the option of playing Colty, but I don't think it was their strongest line for this game. Yeah, no, that's super fair, Eric. Apparently, DF is having some issues. Man, we have 2 abandoned SAs here this game, right? Because Djinni literally can't connect D4 to anything, and neither can Darklings on B4. It's not blocked in, but he can't town with it. Right? Because there's only one hex that he can get to. He can get to A6, but he can't get to he can't use A4 for a town. Yeah, that the uh, town tile is just kind of awkward sitting on the river there. Yeah, yeah. Okay, D3 makes a ton of sense for Matt. That's where we were expecting him to put his SA dig. Sea Giants, yeah. DeepFinnesse working on his town. Darklings passing. For what? Maybe cult coins? Maybe the priest? I don't know. I feel like Darklings is in a... Yeah, Samurai. Yeah. I don't know. Darkling's position this game seems rough. Like I'm not quite sure what their plan is from here. Yeah, Giants with temp ship built in. So we still got a town coming this round from Prospectors. I'm guessing they probably 2-key here because it wins them Earth. Coins, okay. Okay. Djinni's already up to 2-ship. Okay. So E2, and then probably going to place G6 here as well. Yeah. They didn't. They took coins. I mean, that's possible. I'm going to give DeepFinnesse the benefit of the doubt and assume that this is intentional, and he probably wants it for a dig this round, is my guess. Yeah. Yeah. Cause builds G5, and now because he's got the 1-ship, so he can get over to F6 next. No, but he already had the 2 workers. Big brain. Okay. Oh wow. Okay. So both Colt Spades are going on F3 for Darklings. F6. Yeah, I mean that's the thing that makes the most sense to me, but I don't know, how badly does he really need F6? Yeah, I guess the easiest place for him to town is F6, F7, F8, E8. Sort of this stretch right here. And then D2, G1. Okay. Yeah, these 2 spades here on F3. I think it's gonna be really hard for Selkies to connect now, right? Their path was through F3. Coins for Redrame, man. Darklings have gotten the coins like in both round 2 and round 3. I'm pretty sure. He's sitting on 30 coins right now. That's crazy. Yeah, Ship Chan would have secured F3 because he could have built F3 instead of D3. Ooh, I like that. I like that from Matt. Is it a stronghold power? Yeah. Yeah, he kind of needs to town over here, I think. I think E5 is just an abandoned dwelling at this point. Yeah. Yeah, super locked in. I think E5 is just an abandoned dwelling. I think if it gets leech at some point, he's happy, but I think all of what Matt is doing is just up here. Yeah, I think Matt's probably going to get a second town over here somewhere. Probably something like D3, D2, E1, F1, or maybe like B3 and the water hex here. E5 is a town with D6. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There's two water spots he could build on, two lake spots he could build on with D6, but only one he could build on with E6. The advantage to E6 is it's easier to dig. First temple for Matt. All of the earth ones are gone, so all right, water one. Yeah, E6, F5, and then this water hex. Could definitely be a town. E6, C7. Yeah, actually. Little weird U-shaped town. Yeah, Selkies are sweet. Selkies are a sweet one. A lot of the fan factions are pretty sweet. Yeah. Yeah, the ice factions are so much better than the variable factions or the fire factions. God, Darklings are down to 7 points. Just absurd. Okay, yeah, I'm making sure to snag the last copy of Water 1. Okay, so Djinni missing out on Water 1, Selkies missing out on Earth 1. Yeah, that's true. I mean, they have both scoring tiles and we're ending dwelling, TP dwelling. I definitely like uh, Prospectors for first. And it almost feels like Selkies are second by default, right? Because of how much of a struggle the Djinni and the Darklings games are. I don't think Darklings can get to 3 towns either. I think Darklings is getting to 2 towns. I think they're gonna have this town in here, right? F2, F3, E4, E3, and then a town down here, H2, H3, I1, I2. Like, I don't know where a third Darklings town could be. Yeah, that's true. Darkling. Well, are Darklings going to beat Selkie Network? Because like, if we just assume that this E5, if Matt doesn't build anything on this side of the board, right, and just only does stuff in this east corner, I think that's a reasonable strategy. Two shipping and B3. I mean, maybe, right? Kind of depends on what Selkies do. It wouldn't surprise me if Selkies also want a B3, right? B3, A3, D2, D3 is their town with a water hex. I mean, that's the race, right? B3, right? If Darklings want a third town, it's got to be up here. Because I think the 3 ship to get to C5, C6, B6 is just like not a real plan. There's also just like not enough space here unless you want to triple dig one of these, like A8, B7, C7. That seems awful. This to me seems like a 2-town Darklings game. And I don't even know if they connect their stronghold. I mean, they probably do, because like 3 ship A4, but Matt just sitting on infinite power. True, they don't need to connect the SA. Yeah, 3 ship Darklings always feels awful. It's just like way too many priests. That goes to not digging. Darklings was able to get the Worklers. Good. Darklings or Selkies, Eirik? Darklings. 1 ship plus the temp ship to get to B3. Yeah, that makes sense. You think Djinni's is second here? This Djinni game is a mess, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Djinni was the 40 faction for a reason, and I don't think that they are coming back. Yeah. Like, I don't see how Djinni's connects. I don't see where they're towning, right? Like, I guess they can, in theory, like their towns all involve like double digs. I think they're going to win their fair share of Colts. I just don't think they're going to have the points for that to matter. Yeah, probably, right? Because the 2 key town and both 8-point towns are still out there. And it is going to be a rough time for them to town. I don't think that's true. I don't know, maybe it is. I mean, I think the only path for Djinni is to, like, win multiple cults. But yeah, like, Matt's got 2 temples now, right? So he's producing 2 priests a turn. Prospectors has their Senko temple out, so they're producing a priest. Yeah, I mean, Prospectors is they're obviously fully connected up, right? But yeah, Selkies has to go, kind of have to go tall here, somewhat awkwardly. Which, like, this is just not the setup for going tall. You don't think so? I mean, I don't. So it kind of depends on, like, what they want their footprint to be. Okay, double dig. Ah, so that's where Djinni's gonna town. They're gonna town up here in the north, right? Bridge between C7 and B8. God, this has been a very coin-rich game with no one. Very coin-rich game with no one taking fire one. Matt's taking his claim to air. Prospector setting up for their second town in the west. I'm really curious what Matt's plan is here. Like, is he gonna do anything with this dwelling on E5? E5, F5. Yeah, they could do E5, F5, E6, and then this water hex could absolutely be a town if they want to. The water hex has to be between 2 hexes they've already built. So the water hex between E5 and E6 they could build on. Can't build above D2, D3. He would have to build either B3 or B2 to build that water hex, yeah. Yeah, he would have to build B3 in order to build on this water hex. He can't build it right now because it has to be. It's basically like building an ice bridge, right? I think is the way to visualize it between 2 hexes they've already built on, and they don't need a. There's no bridge to be built between D2 and D3. Ugh. Yeah, Darklings went south. Tripping their ships once. Djinnis are getting all their yellows. Still really curious. Okay, so Matt did go e6. Okay. So he's gonna town, right? This e5, e6, f5 sort of town. Yeah, Prospectors are absolutely crushing this Barnwell. They the hard dig c4 very first action of the game after they started d5 b5 set them up in a great position and cut off Selkies. But super interesting game and auction. Being able to casually triple dig very first action of the entire game is absurd. Darklings wish they could be Prospectors. But yeah, we're now in the scoring crazy points section of the track. Prospectors are fire faction in disguise. Yeah, that's fair. Yes, Prospectors set up with their second town. Yeah, and all the cult towns are still out there, right? Both 8-point towns and the 2-key town are still out there. Well, so they're disconnected primarily because of Prospectors, right? That C4 dig at the very beginning, like, made Selkies' connection almost impossible. Yeah, that has to be the thinking. And then Darklings used their 2 Colt Spades on F3, which cut off Selkies' other path to connection. Djinni never really had, I think, a good path to connect between D7 and D4. And then Darklings are basically connected, right? It's only their SA that's kind of hanging out somewhere else. Yeah, some Selkies tech to tape it together. Yeah, and the fact that they've been able to do this all on temp ship, right? They haven't even upped their ship yet. Is pretty crazy. Actually, in hindsight, that's probably why DeepFinnesse went with Cointown instead of 2-key town when he did, is because he needed to make sure he could dig G5 and get to F6 while he had temp ship. Yeah, Darkling's game has recovered. They were in a rough spot early, but they've kind of recovered from them. Yeah, Darkling's got a subscription to the coin action. Yeah, I agree, Kodam. I'm pretty sure it was about just making sure they got to F6 so they could build this second town. Which they did with the 8-point town. Yeah, now everyone's built all their dwellings last round. Now we're building all our teepees so that we can build all our dwellings again in round 6. Fair. I think Djinni should stronghold this round. I think round 5 is usually when I want to build the Djinni stronghold. Just because you need those points. Oh man, DeepFinnesse. Prospectors is probably trying to set up a third town here in the middle. F4, G3, G4, G5. Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great rest of your day. Yeah, Lakes have delivered Lakes. There's been really cool games. And thanks for setting up this whole tournament, Eric. Really appreciated it. It's been fun so far. Okay, Darklings are towning here. No idea what town they want. Probably just Priest. Oh, they took Workers. Yeah, Workers make sense too. Everyone having their TP party. It's probably Air 1 for Prospectors. Yeah. Expensive TP for Matt to town. I have to imagine Djinni are going Stronghold here. And then throw... do they have any pre... Yeah, it throws at least a couple of priests on Colts. Yeah, this is about the point in time where I think you want to build the Djinni Stronghold most games. Just because, you know, getting those 10 extra points on the pass in round 5 and 6. And their Stronghold's so cheap relative to most, right? It's the same price of as an NG Stronghold. Yeah, Fire is super wide open. Which makes sense, right? It was the only Colt without a reward. I wonder where Matt is going to throw these Colt Spades. This has got to be the last copy of Air 1 for Darklings here. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, Samurai. Well, it depends, right? Because the Stronghold... If there's a particular town he's trying to rush, like he's worried about not getting 8-point town or something. Who ended up taking the 2-key town? It was Selkies. Okay. Yeah, that 2-key town sat around forever. I don't know if it's worth it for them either. I think they have the resources to. If they want to get up to 2-ship and then go over to B3. They didn't, no. Which makes it a lot harder. Unless they build their stronghold. A4 for connection, B3 for the town. Well, so part of the issue with going A4 first without upping their ship is That's an extra dwelling that they would have to build, right? And they would need to get to 2-ship to connect everything anyways. And just like not having that extra hanging structure, I think makes it a lot easier for them to town. You want them to triple dig A3? I guess. Well, the question is like, who's getting B3? Because I just punched through with 7 priests. Yeah. I kind of imagine that Matt's plan is to up his shipping here and then put his 2 cult digs on B3. To get a third town over there in the east. DeepFinnesse with the classic Prospectors game of not building their big buildings, but building everything else. Yeah, Darklings could definitely get to B3 this round if they want to. Oh, that's true. They could build 3 river dwellings that way. Yeah, I think B3 is like super important for Selkies. I mean, if he doesn't think that Red is gonna or Darklings is gonna go after it, I don't know. He did leave it hanging, but like, I don't know how much of a choice he had there. Oh, interesting. He's not even upping his shipping, so I guess the plan is not to put his cult digs on B3. And yeah, it looks like Darklings might be going for B3 here. E1, yeah, that's where my brain is at too. E1 for those 2 digs. Yeah, unfortunately not playing with landscapes, and he's not swarmlings, but yeah. The fan factions don't have landscapes. Two of the 4, yeah. They're a fan faction, ice faction. They're not one of the 2 original ice factions, so they don't have a landscape. Yetis and Snow Maidens were the 2 original ice factions. Maybe, I don't know. I have to imagine that Selkie's plan does not involve B3. Right? Because if Selkie's plan involved B3, they'd probably up their shipping last turn. I think Selkie's plan is E1 F1 for the town. That's true. Darklings could dig B3 for them. Yeah. I think Darklings are going to get B3. We were talking about Selkies not going for B3. Man, Darklings just print points. At one point, they were all the way down to 7 points in like round 2, and they're already back up to 90. The game I'm actually most impressed with right now is the Djinni game. They've come back way stronger than I thought possible for them. No, yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment of Darklings. Another coin action for the boys in brown. Just a casual 35 coins in the last round. Okay, so Djinni have managed to set themselves up for a second town in the south. Yeah, G3 was always something that Prospectors were going to dig. I wonder if Prospectors are going to stronghold here. I doubt it. There's not really much of an incentive to versus just like digging H6 or G2. Probably more likely to SA. Yeah. I mean, they would get almost all of their coins back for building it, right? Because like Selkies have all their TPs out, right? It would be 9 to 10 coins for hitting it. Yeah, the worker problem. That's super fair. They are very tight on workers. A lot of these priests are probably going to end up being workers. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, they got these 3 priests, right? Like, they can just use priests as workers. It's not like the priests have cold spots to take up. I guess one of them has to be used to get to one ship so that he has full connection. It might be, especially if he takes Water 2 or Water 3 if he ends up building his SA. Temple. This is probably Fire 2 if I were to guess for Darklings. Make it a lot easier to town up in the north. Especially if they dig out like B3, B2, C1, and then they only need one TP. Yeah, fire 2. And they even get them a town right away if they want. Priest or something. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for hanging out, Samurai. It's been fun. Priest down, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Especially if they want to up shipping as well. Which they probably do, right? They probably want to dig B3, build B2, build C1. And that gives them a town once they build a TP. .11 town for Prospectors. So this is probably like Prospectors first, Darklings second. Honestly, I think Djinni third. I think Selkies are bringing up the rear here. I think Djinni did a really good job of carving themselves out a couple town spaces when early on it didn't seem like that was possible. Yeah, okay, there's the B3 from Darklings. Djinni definitely towning in the south. Probably going to have to build an expensive TP to get that town. Or I guess they could also fire 2. Fire 2 is actually really good for them, especially for competing on fire. And making sure they keep their lead over Selkies on fire. Interesting. C1. The early drama you missed was Prospector's first action of the entire game, hard dig C4. Cutting off Selkies' connection and setting up their town early. It was digs round 1, town round 2 with Colt Spade with Earth Spade reward, and so they got themselves up to 8 on Earth early, set themselves up for the early town, and kind of just snowballed from there. Yeah, Selkies expected Prospectors to dig C4. I mean, once Prospectors placed D5 as their second dwelling, I think it was pretty obvious. But I don't know. Oh yeah. Selkies almost certainly expected C4 when they first placed. Prospectors in the first seat placed B5 first and D5 second, and I think once they placed D5, maybe the writing was on the wall that's where they were going, but there's no way Selkies, when they placed C3, weren't expecting to get C4. And I think a lot of the game hinged on that particular move. Yeah. No, my initial thoughts of placements were definitely B4, C3, D4, D5. Yeah, Brown started double west. They started D5, B5. And then went east from there. They had temp ship in round 2 and got F4, G4, G5, F6. and then expanded out from here. Almost all the action was over here in the west. So Darklings started double west, Prospectors started double west, and then we had Selkies and Djinni on the west, and then Djinni and Selkies also started in the east. Yeah. So the first 4 actions out of Prospectors were hard dig C4, double dig for 2 priests, coins. Yeah, it was an absurd opening for Prospectors. Selkies just built Temple. Are they taking fire too here? So he doesn't have to build the TP? I mean, he wants to build the TP anyways. Oh, I guess he needed to build the Temple just to open up the TP. Okay, fire 3. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to try and get at least a tie for first over there. That was just my first thought, because it put 6 points over there, but I didn't realize he needed to build the Temple in order to free the TP. Okay. Yeah, that would be my guess. Get the last 8-point town. Assuming... I guess Djinni has the jump on it. Oh, yeah, Djinni has the jump on him, so he can Temple for fire 2, and then take the 8-point town. Oh, it takes a priest town. Okay. I guess the priest is just as good as the 8-point town when you only care about 1 cult track. In fact, slightly better because it's the extra point. Yeah, that's true. It is equal in points. Assuming that... yeah, I don't know. It depends on what they expect Darklings to do there. Not getting the point for the tiebreaker on water is relevant. I guess... Because Matt's also sitting on a priest, right? Selkies are sitting on a priest. So they're going to be able to take 8-point and still break the tie. I think Djinni were supposed to take 8-point instead of the priest. Assuming Selkies are in fact taking the 8-point town here. I'm certain someone is, but I have no idea who it is. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. If I think that actually is probably the correct argument, is just to deny them the yeah, Matt coming in talking about how his game is a bit of a mess. I mean, they kind of had to, right? If they had any hope of competing. Ended up not being quite enough, but... Redrame with the ultimate statement. This certainly was a Lakes game. Talking about stymied. I think Selkies was also just not good. Certainly was a Lakes game. Working on my bids. Whoops. An A6, F6 start. Didn't see C4 coming at all. Players just sort of talking about the opening turns of the game. Power Town for Darklings to make sure that they have the coins to get to 2-ship. So D5 started D5, B5, and triple dug C4 in first move anyways. Yes, that is exactly what happened. DF started D5, B5, triple dug C4 with the very first move. First action, triple dug C4. Second action, double spade for 2 priests. And third action, took the coins. Ended up throwing, 2 priests onto Earth, and then started on Cult Coins, so he got all the way up to 8 on Earth in round 1. Matt talking about how he thought about taking Shiptown, because remember we were talking about in round 2 him taking Shiptown here. He ended up taking Worker Town, saying if he got to F3 he think he might have been competitive, which makes sense. His network would have been way stronger. Well, so he got 3 power from the dig. He might have thrown 1 or 2 of the priests to Earth before he ended up taking the coins, Fruity, but he definitely got the coins in round 1. Yeah, that too. And then, yeah, it looks like Djinni narrowly edging out. Selkies for third, Darklings in second, and Prospectors in first. Yeah, everyone was building in the center, right? So you had it up with Selkies opened Stronghold, so they, got a bunch of leech from there. We got the temple on B4, temple on D4. So yeah, just a ton of leech. Kind of, yeah. I mean, that's part of the strength of Prospectors, right? Is that it's a lot easier for them to dig than an average faction. Because they dig with the coins instead of needing like worker digs. But yeah, super interesting game. A lot of fun to watch. I have recorded the game as well, so I'm going to throw it up on YouTube later this afternoon. But thanks for stopping by, y'all. I think the next stream I'm going to do is my next game in the 5 Cup Championships is on Wednesday. Playing base map. It should be myself. Let me look at Discord real quick to tell you exactly who's in the game. It's myself, Redrame, Ryan the Man, and Scoomy Moons are playing base map on Wednesday evening. Start time is 7:30 Central. So I think I'll fire up the stream and stream my perspective of that game. And hang out. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to try and stream at least one American League game every week for this 5 Cup Championship, or 5-match championship that IRIC has set up. I know IRIC is planning on streaming at least one of the Euro and Asian Pacific League games every week. So hopefully we get some good Terra Mystica on Twitch over the next couple of weeks. But thanks everybody for stopping by. It's super fun to just kind of sit here and talk about Terra Mystica, and I will catch y'all next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.